So welcome to the studio. Today I have something actually really special for you guys. So a little backstory. About a week or so ago, I posted some stuff on Instagram about Tyler, the Creator's new collection. He has the 1908 and he has the Jogger. And a lot of comments around those were misdirected, let's say. And so I just put out a few truths out there. But as a result of that, Converse has come to the studio to talk a little bit about some of the stuff we talked about in that video and to go a little bit deeper. So before we get into it, Sam, tell them your position at Converse, what you do at Converse, all the things that people would want to know.
My role at Converse is archivist, but it also kind of has this hybrid nature to it of also the brand historian and like keeper of the stories and all that kind of stuff. Going back before Converse was founded in the 1870s, and then, to our founding in 1908, all the way up through, the most recent, products like the Not One and, from the 1908 project and stuff like that.
So let's talk a little bit about the Not One and the Jogger. So for people assume those styles weren't created back when they were created. Can you talk about some of the origins of those two styles?
Yeah, so I think probably the most widely used silhouette amongst all those, amongst other brands and stuff is that CVO or circular vamp ox that the Not One pulls from. So for us as a brand, it goes back to 1913. We released our first boating shoe. It was actually just called the Yachting. And it had that CVO or circular vamp look to, and style to it. But that Not One would then pull from a boating shoe from the 50s and 60s that we did. We always kind of had these spaces that we played in. And so the Not One kind of slotted into that boating space in the 1970s. So, really into today with the CVO. And
Let's see, you brought some samples with you.
But yeah, so this is the Not One from probably, I estimate the 1970s. So again, you see that classic circular vamp ox look, that kind of classic boating stance that it gives you, the herringbone outsole to give you grip on the deck of ships and stuff like that. Again, the classic kind of CVO circular vamp ox DNA into the shoe.
So what's the difference between something like this and what Tyler created?
Came into the archive, identified these silhouettes, and thought that Converse could leverage them to tell new stories. And that's one of my favorite things when a creator comes into the archive and finds a piece that resonates with them and that it makes them want to tell a story on our behalf, which is really great. So, and it's one of my, favorite things of being the archivist is when someone's like, hey, what if we talked about boating for a minute? It's like, oh yes, I've been waiting for you guys to say something right over here. I think he was excited to kind of see let's challenge Converse to tell this new story. So,
yeah, he has a skate history. He was heavily in the skate world, so it makes sense that something like this would resonate with him, and then him being able to find out that there's a past story there from Converse. It all kind of connects. It connects very well. What else you got over there in the archives?
Well, and so, we'll go through the 1908 stuff, first, because that's what we've been talking about. So this is the original Jog Coach Jogger from 1976. Again, that classic kind of stance of that low jogging shoe, kind of at the height of that, first wave of jogging boom of the 1970s and stuff. That, again, one of those classic silhouettes that lives in the Converse archive that I think is that kind of unexpected find within the archive. We have all these different avenues that Converse has really been in and kind of set up, to lead in that kind of sports culture, sneaker culture zone that we can kind of play in.
As a sneaker guy, it's cool to see like this sort of one just the history of it all and seeing how the brand has evolved over time. What other things are in the archive that people may not necessarily know? Oh, Converse did this, or this is in the Converse archives?
Yeah, and basically that's what the rest of my bag is.
Oh, okay.
Things things that might be unexpected. So this one here is a really interesting one. Kind of watch the bottom of it with the spikes. So this is a spiked track shoe from probably the 1980s. It's really interesting because there are two kind of ways that Converse can leverage the archive. One is that kind of one-for-one bring back, like you see with 1908, or maybe some, slight adjustments to make it more comfortable, but generally preserve the look and feel of it. And then there are models like, say, like the Run Star Trainer, or say like the Louis Lopez 2 that may pull from different shoes, like, oh, I really like the line of this. Can we bring that into something? And so this is one of about a dozen shoes that inspired that. So, and then I mean, like, and getting at that idea of functional utility design. So this is actually a shoe that wasn't designed by Converse per se, but was manufactured by Converse in the late 60s. So this is what was called a comfort slipper. And so this was designed for the Marines during the Vietnam War, and it was meant that you could keep it rolled up in your backpack, and then when you wanted to take your boots off to dry them off, you would put this comfort slipper on. So it served that kind of like, I always like into like the psychological comfort of like the end of the day putting on a comfortable pair of shoes and taking off your work boots and stuff. And so, but again, what can inspire a Converse designer is, maybe it's just the closure, or maybe it's, the way that like low profile.
Yeah.
That again, like I think that unexpected thing that can be in the Converse archive is that kind of like low profile look that you're seeing out in the world right now. So
like the barefoot running community would be all over these. Or like the
sure.
low profile, or like the
it takes that minimal utility.
Yeah, I could see a community being all over something like this these days, being like, because that's just like a thing. That's cool.
No, for sure. And then I feel like it wouldn't be this is one of the things that whenever people come to the archive, it's one of the shoes that I think really resonates with me the most is this martial arts shoe from probably around 1990. And so this shoe kind of perfectly encapsulates like what my role and that kind of like preservation of our stories that I do, and that kind of unending quest for knowledge like you do, like one of the things I do is I work with older employees and stuff like that and help them clean out their basements when maybe they're looking to offload some stuff. And so I found in this press promotional folder that, had like some other branding on it, but I open it up and it's all information on this shoe. And this is like 12 years after I first found this model, so it was like this 12-year journey of like getting bits and pieces, and it actually was old press material for it, and it said the name was the Street Master. So it was like a 12-year process of just figuring out like what this model was. Beyond just that story, I think that kind of like low profile that you see in say like the Jogger and stuff like that is that kind of unexpected space that Converse can kind of play in.
In the Converse archive timeline, is there a time where you see like, oh, this is when like the switch flipped for the Chuck Taylor? This is when this became like the rockers were gonna wear it in the 80s, or the kids are gonna wear it when they skate. Like, was there a time when you saw like that transition start to happen?
I think I always point to that moment again, like with the surfers and that kind of kick it on and off, that kind of moment of organic adoption. Because of the functionality of like, it's a great kick on and off, take it to the beach shoe, and like there are anecdotes about the players admiring basketball players and wanting to wear like the low profile, low top versions of the Chuck that they were wearing. Surfers, when the waves aren't good, start skateboarding. Skateboarding turns into punk rock in the 70s and hip hop and grunge later and heavy metal and stuff like that. And so just it being and existing at those kind of intersectional moments. And another one I always point to is the introduction of color in 1971. We introduced the low top because basketball players are asking for more ankle mobility or, whatever. Like, we do it for a very basketball-centric reason. We introduced color because we want teams to better be able to match their school colors.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, to bring this all back around.
Yeah.
So you have someone like Tyler, the creator. What is it about this brand that pulls like the creative community in that way?
I think that the Chuck Taylor has just become this icon of, it represents something to everyone. And it just resonates with everyone in this really profound way of like say you're going to the Oscars and you want to project a certain air to you. If you're wearing Chucks, that sends a signal to everyone that Jacques is this creative kind of person without having to wear a shirt that says that, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that to me is what makes the Chuck so special, is that it's just become this icon of culture that just speaks such a simple message, but such a profound, like, tells you about that person in a profound way.
Well, thank you, Sam.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming by today,
Yeah.
man. Look, I could sit here with Sam all day, and I'm sure bored most of you guys to death, but I would love it. We didn't even talk about the 80s and Magic Johnson and Larry Bird and all of that stuff. We'll just have to get to that another time. I'm gonna volunteer you for something right now. If you guys have questions for Sam, just leave them down in the comments. And maybe Sam will hop in and answer them, or I can put them all together and I'll send them to Sam and he'll answer the ones that he can. For an extended cut. As always, we appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching. Once again, thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Jacques.
Appreciate you coming to the
Anytime, man.
studio and checking things out. And we'll see you guys soon. Peace.